Hi, I'm Clever Ghoul, but you can call me Nikki. Welcome back to the channel. I've been wanting to make some earrings ever since I watched the Beyonce Bowl back in December. And since Cowboy Carter tickets are going on sale this week, I think it's the time to make them. Speaking of tickets, how are we doing, Beehive? I don't know about you, but that was crazy. That felt like battle. I hope you're doing okay. At the time that I record this, there's still a few more sales going on, but whew, that pre-sale was not feeling like a pre-sale. And honestly, Ticketmaster, count your days. You know what? That's all I'm gonna say for now. Let's get back to crafting. At the end of the Beyonce Bowl, Beyonce gets on top of the stage, starts to ascend above the crowd, and a banner unfurls that says bang. And it's that banner that I've been wanting to turn into earrings. So to make these, we're going to use some Shrinky Dinks. Now, I've used Shrinky Dinks on the channel before in 2 previous videos, which I will have linked in the description box below, but this is a relatively easy project. With all that being said, let's get into it. For materials, you'll need the following: Shrinky Dink sheets. I used clear because it makes it easiest to trace. A printout of the design you want to use. I had to trace over my iPad with tracing paper, but I really recommend printing this out to size instead. Scissors, a hole punch, masking tape, Sharpies, fine grit sandpaper, white acrylic paint and brushes, Mod Podge dimensional magic, earring hooks, jump rings, pliers, and additionally, I used a heat gun for this project, as well as a heat safe surface so that I could film this. But if you're doing this at home, feel free to use the oven and follow the directions that are included with your Shrinky Dinks. You should be able to get everything at your local craft store, but I've also included my affiliate links in the description box. First, I actually drew out my design on my iPad just to get an idea of what I was going to do, and then I traced over my iPad screen with a piece of tracing paper, like I mentioned. Again, just print out a piece of paper and do this. I had to do this because my printer's not really working, but if you have access to a working printer, just make sure you print out your graphic to size. And remember that Shrinky Dinks shrink to about 1/3 of their original size, so keep that in mind when you're sizing your print. My starting size was about 6¼ inches tall. Once I had my design ready, I taped it down to the table and then took a plastic sheet and taped that over the design so everything was secure and wouldn't move. Next, with a red Sharpie, I slowly started making the red portion of the bang graphic. I recommend using a ruler to mark the edges first and then slowly fill in the rest. I let that sit to dry for a few minutes. I took an extra fine Sharpie and lightly marked where the edges of that top stage portion, so I knew where to cut it out. And then I took out my black Sharpie and started to add in the lettering. Then I slowly and carefully cut the design out with scissors and added a hole punch at the top, being careful not to get too close to the edge of that plastic so it doesn't rip. If you're doing this at home and using an oven, now is time to pull out those Shrinky Dink instructions that come with the pack and follow them. I do have additional tips in my previous videos, which again I've linked in the description box just in case you need a little extra help. I used a heat gun this time, and as I've mentioned previously, be extremely careful if you're using a heat gun. It's very easy to start a fire and burn yourself. In fact, you should be using heat safe gloves while using a heat gun, which I definitely didn't do, but I'm going to order some for next time. I used the heat gun to shrink the plastic. It always curls on itself before it gets flat, so don't get too nervous when that happens. I also used a rolling pin going in multiple directions up and down on both sides as it cooled to make sure it stayed really flat. Once everything was shrunk and cooled off, I went back in with some Sharpies and touched up any areas that needed it. I also sanded the edges a little bit very lightly off camera just so that they don't poke me when I wear them. Now it's time to add in the white background behind bang. I flipped over the plastic and added in a layer of white acrylic paint, being very careful not to get any on the edges or on the front of the piece. And then I would use a hairdryer to go over it just to make sure it dried quickly before adding a second coat. Once dry, I flipped it over and very carefully added a little bit of white to that platform stage portion at the top, and then I let that dry. Then I took my red Sharpie and went around the edges of the Shrinky Dink just to make sure it was really crisp and red on those edges and cover up any paint that might have gotten on the sides. Once everything was completely dry, I knew it was time to seal and lock in that Sharpie and paint, so I pulled out my Mod Podge dimensional magic. I really love using this on Shrinky Dinks because I think it makes it look more like a piece of acrylic instead of just a piece of shrink plastic. Read the directions on the bottle. Make sure not to shake it because you will get bubbles, which ruins the finish. And we're going to start with the front side of this earring. I start by squeezing some of the glue on and tilting the piece back and forth, up and down, all around, so it kind of spreads over in a smooth, even layer on the piece. Then I add some more and repeat. I do this until it's spread across the entire surface, and then I wipe off any excess at the sides or the bottom, or even in that little earring hole. Make sure it's completely level, and then place it on a flat level surface to dry for at least 3 hours. I waited 5 hours for these to be completely dry and make sure they were completely set before touching them. And then I flipped them over and repeated the same process, this time sealing in the white paint that we had put down earlier. I did this with both earrings and then let them sit on a flat surface overnight to dry. Finally, it's time to attach the jewelry hardware, so pull out some earring hooks, some jump rings, and 2 pairs of pliers. Pick up a jump ring with 1 pair of the pliers, and then with the other, grab the opposite side, and then then twist towards you so that you open the jump ring. Put the earring onto the jump ring, and then add on that earring hook piece, and then grab the earring with both pliers on either side like you did before, and then twist back together to close. Double check that your earrings are hanging right, and if they're not, readjust them. And then repeat on the second earring. And with that, you're all done, which means it's time for the reveal. Here they are. I love how they turned out. I think they look so true to the actual banner from the Beyonce Bowl. And I love seeing the bang bang because it makes me think of her song Spaghetti from Cowboy Carter.
I ain't in no gang, but I got shooters and I bang bang.
Also, this is a really fast project that only took me about 2.5 hours if you don't include the drying time, which isn't too bad. I did have an idea to make a little glittery star stud that these would then hang from, but I didn't have the time to do that. So in the future, I think I might actually alter these and add them, but I actually think they look pretty great as they are. Anyway, to all my fellow Beehive out there, happy Cowboy Carter ticket time. I know it's been really difficult and really unfair. Again, as of filming this, there are still a few more sales left, so I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for everyone in the hive. And if you did manage to get tickets and you are going, let me know in the comments below what show you're going to. I would love to hear. I'm also gonna try my best to make my outfit for the show, so if I end up doing that, I'll definitely be posting it here, so be sure to stay tuned. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!